Hello there folks, and welcome to the second round, or rather a game in the second round of the Big Bang Tournament. I'm just going to have the chronocam open here briefly because I was unable to meet the start of this game, but I'm here for the rest of it. We'll go slightly faster at the beginning in order to catch up. So, our players for this one are ComputerPajo in orange on the South Pole. If I swap over there, we can see he's gone for a naval first with a typical eco opening and an air second as well, which is great on a naval map like Pacific. On the other team, in blue, we have Pieman. Having a pretty similar opening there, getting up an early radar as well, which is always good, especially given the range that the radar gives you. You'll be able to see anything that's coming at you from a fair way off on a map this, on a map this size. Now, a map like this, Pacific, it is full of naval stuff, and as we can already see, which is a good idea to do on naval maps like this, is get out a naval scout, which is effectively what the Piranha has become. Sort of like a docks of the sea, I've heard it called. And if it can, it does have a few shots, it doesn't do too much damage, but if it could get off a few shots there, it might have been able to shut down a couple of expansions here, but we have got the successful torpedo launcher set up there from ComputerPajo. Now that's quite important, because that means he's now been able to lock down these mechs early on in the game, which you really want to do on naval maps like this. It's all about locking down areas, setting up torpedoes, and making sure that your opponent does not have access to go through those areas, because of course naval is so slow moving that if you do lock down the areas, they go in range, they are toast, because they will not get out of range. Now the other thing you want to do is get air. Intel is so crucial in naval games because, especially on this map, that moment that someone moves to T2 Navy is the moment you need to know about it, because you just have to react to it, because T2 Naval has such a step up from T1 Naval. The Leviathans are incredibly powerful, especially with the long range and with the broadside ability that they have. They can just do so much damage. Now meanwhile here you can see these sort of docks doing a little bit of damage. I say docks, I mean piranhas. They used to be called sunfish, but docks of the sea. Anyway, but yeah, they managed to take down that whole mechs there. It wasn't finished, but still, you know, you can see that they do have that raiding power, and they do also provide good vision. Now, other things that there are to note. These islands, you can move to them, and of course you can also build bot factories and move docks over to them and lock them down that way, because of course docks are submersible, as we can see from Pieman there, doing a little good job. But of course, the danger when you move to these islands is you have to get a fabricator there, and it has to be an air fabricator or a ground fabricator in a Pelican. Both air fabricators and Pelicans are pretty damn flimsy things, so you got to make sure you get them there soon, and you got to make sure they were protected. Unfortunately, ComputerPajo did not protect his fabbers there. I'll just take this moment to apologise for any background noise. It is incredibly warm in the UK at the moment, and I've only just moved home, and I wasn't aware I was going to be casting this evening, so if there is background noise or anything dodgy about the setup, it will hopefully be amended for later videos once I get myself settled. But anyway, let's have some fun. So we can see here narwhals facing off against each other. Narwhals are incredibly powerful against air. If anyone decides to mass up air units, narwhals are going to be the answer to it. Narwhals also have a torpedo weapon, but here when you've got narwhals against narwhals, it doesn't really matter all that much because the superior numbers are going to win. Now I have heard that submarines, while very expensive, have an incredibly powerful torpedo weapon. Those are the Barracudas by name. You want to make sure you build a few of those in with your piranhas, and apparently, from what I've heard, orcas, these sort of T1 battle cruisers, are not really cost efficient or effective enough to put them in your army. Especially on a map like Pacific, because yes, they have range to cover land, but you get air superiority and you have that, right? So you may as well fill your navy with narwhals, T2 Navy potentially, and Barracuda submarines, and you have an incredibly powerful naval push force there. But good job from Pieman there, locking down the island with the ships he has and not overextending. You don't want to do that really, especially when you're in range of torpedo. You see there, you lost so much health because they do so much damage. 2 naval vessels, those torpedoes. But now in range of the spawning mechs there, as ComputerPajo begins to lose, but he does have a few defensive forces there and a few Barracudas. The Barracudas could probably do to go in. They could do a lot of damage, but in comes some reinforcing docks. Now this is an interesting move because these docks will be able to push in, take out these anti-air, take out the mechs, and possibly even take out the power. Unfortunately though, they weren't micro particularly well and they got completely bombed to smithereens. However, that is also crucial because ComputerPajo now knows, not ComputerPajo, sorry, Pieman now knows that ComputerPajo is stocking up on bombers. So with any luck, he'll be building a whole bunch of interceptors now and probably, with any luck, getting more air factories, but he isn't. That is a problem. He should be doing that, especially having seen all those bombers. The alternative, of course, is narwhals, which there is an abundance of. And Pieman has this entire side here. Now, because I've been speeding through this at quite a rate, I didn't notice the T2 Navy go up. But Pieman does have it, and he has the advantage into the T2 Naval there. And ComputerPajo, does he know about it? Let's have a look. He does not, and that's going to be crucial because Pieman's going to get out a Leviathan following the T2 Eco fabricators there. That's going to fly him into the lead there because naval games tend to play out quite differently insofar as the economy is concerned because it's a different sort of game. It's a slower paced game, more of a macro game than a micro game, and more of a strategic game insofar as, you know, you're making long-term plans rather than, again, because it's not micro, you're making your long-term plans and your long-term decisions and you don't have all of those mini things that you need to check up on. I mean, yes, you can go and raid and do all of this stuff, but the time it takes the Navy to get there, so much more than docks on other maps and things like that. Meanwhile on the ground there, bombers coming in, doing a lot of damage to narwhals. They do take out a lot of losses there actually, and do not succeed in taking down that naval force. That is painful. Very, very painful indeed. Do we actually see some T2 naval vessels coming out? We do see a Sting... No, that's a Leviathan. Leviathan. I haven't played in a long time. I've forgotten the icons. But yes, Leviathans. Now, they have an incredible range, and they have an incredible power as well. So if he can back that up with a bunch of narwhals, and of course Barracudas, if he can factor those into his build, he will have an incredibly powerful push and will go straight for ComputerPajo's base. ComputerPajo, I think, hasn't made the right decisions here. He's turtled, and on a map like Pacific, that is the last thing you want to do. Yes, you want to play it safe and not overextend, but at the same time, you don't want to turtle in too hard. Reason being, of course, that, as we're saying about turtling, you really don't want to on this map, because here we can see the turtle, and we can see the non-turtle. Look at the amount of metal you get if you are aggressive and take that land for your own. ComputerPajo started off doing well, expanding a bit, but I think because so many of his expansion attempts were locked down, I think it threw him off a little bit, and he really didn't follow those up. But all the same, you got to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and continue. And you really got to get those expansions and deny them to your opponent, because here we just have so much metal. It is insanity to leave it alone. But we now have another push here coming in with orcas and narwhals again. Of course, narwhals should be the mainstay of any naval fleet just to protect it from the air, because it is so good against air. But I don't think this will do too much damage. You don't want to move the Air Force over those narwhals. There's no bombers in there whatsoever. The commander's behind the walls, although he is taking some damage. He's poking through the walls just a little bit. He wants to move back a smidgen. Let some submarines do some damage there, because they do a lot of damage. Barracuda's moving in, taking out some orcas. They really want to focus down the narwhals instead of the orcas, simply because the narwhals can... have that torpedo weapon to attack the submarines, whereas orcas do not. More bombers coming in. You don't want to do that. There's still 2 narwhals there. I'm not sure that's going to work out for you, because narwhals are so good against air. Look at that. No bombers remain. Both narwhals are still there. You just have to answer them with subs. There's no other answer, really. Unless you want to rush in with other narwhals, orcas. But they need so many bombers. It is insane. Now, meanwhile, here comes the Leviathan. Now, the interesting thing about Leviathans and other naval vessels is if they're attacking a target in front of them, they only fire a couple of their weapons. Whereas if they're firing it parallel, they fire broadside. And that's what you really want to do. So there's a little bit of micro involved in the Navy, but not too much. But then I think ComputerPajo, seeing that Leviathan there just shelling away from a distance, is just going to wreck this base. And because ComputerPajo really hadn't expanded nor scouted, that was the other big issue. He didn't scout, but he hadn't expanded, hadn't scouted, so he's unaware of this threat before it is on his doorstep, when he really doesn't have an effective answer to it. Going in all or nothing against these Leviathans, barely scratching their surface, and it's just going to wreck all the naval factories. Desperately trying to get up some T2 naval to answer this, but he's not going to get anything out in time. The economy is dying like crazy. He really doesn't have enough to deal with this, and the commander has been targeted. Yeah, there was the GG and the self-kill. Apologies for missing the start. I had to have dinner and had to catch up and make sure that I'm in time for the rest of the tournament, so I had to run it all at double pace. I hope this fast cast worked out okay. Apologies if it didn't. Again, sorry for being rusty and for dodgy audio quality. If that is a thing that is an issue, I will look into these recordings after the event and switch around my setup if necessary. But yes, don't forget to drop a like, folks, if you liked it, and leave any feedback in the comment section. Thanks again for watching. Subscribe for more PA on the way very, very soon indeed. And as always, I'll see you next time. Another tribute now. If they have the ultimates, these could be really useful there with the Valor. Getting the Stitches stunned with the Tychus laser there.
Oh,
the wailing arrow.
Silence.
Oh my goodness. Down goes Tychus. No, he does survive. Does the Lily survive? The Lily survives the Valor. Oh my goodness. Diablo trying to get the pickup on Consume, but instead he gets way out of position, stunned by a noob, chased down by Stitches. Will the claw get off? No, it doesn't. The blue team are on the wrong side there, and one in fact gets put in the cocoon.
Oh, here comes the hook. And Diablo
goes down.
Getting caught.
But the curse for blue team, I'm not sure that is the best curse that's possible, because some of their team are dead and they aren't going to be able to push with it. Lily goes down though from the Tyrael stun there, really nicely done.